Welcome back, and let's get ready for the second session. So the second session will be packed with a lot of information for our new and existing farmers. We are going to talk about secrets to increasing farm yield in a cost-effective way. This is one thing that we at Complete Pharma have implemented for a long time now for our growers. We equip them with the right knowledge and skills that is going to help them to increase their yield. Our grower model allows us to give growers access to our data-driven cultivation protocols, which allows them to increase their yield and to also grow to meet export market demand. So if you're a farmer who is interested in enjoying the full benefits of our grower model, sign up by clicking on the link in our chat box or visiting www.completepharma.com to sign up as a grower. Our next session will be hosted by our agronomy team, which has Luis Paddy, our chief agronomist. He has a vast understanding of crop research procedures and has worked as an agronomist and farmer for many years. He'll be hosting this session with Kwashie Abbey, our research agronomist, who has also worked on many research projects across Africa. Hello, Kwashie.
Hello, Miriam.
Yes, please, we are ready for you.
Miriam, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can.
All right, so like you rightly introduced, we are going to talk about secrets to increasing farm yield in a cost-effective way. And this is what Complete Pharma approach we've been using over the years for our farms. And rightly said, we want to also share with our various other farmers, upcoming farmers, and what we can also offer to our growers to make sure they maximize yield by reducing their costs as well. So this is the outline of the presentation. We're going to look at using Ghana as a case study in some of the analysis and some crop yield potentials we have, and how some 11 secrets some secrets we're going to consider during the presentation. So I'll start by saying that agriculture has been a bedrock of most economies in the world, and Ghana is no exception. But it has not been fully exploited in Africa. Most of the African countries are usually producing way below, or even though it's giving them much revenue, but it is not the focal point of their economies. Using Ghana as a case study is viewed by many key factors in the economy, and it is a major part of our Ghanaian economy. It contributes about 20% of the Ghana's GDP and employs only 33%. Agriculture without cocoa produces about 65%, contributes about 65% in Ghana, and also contributes about 11 points. That's in 2018, contributed about 11.98 billion USD, just agriculture without cocoa. So it tells you how big the industry is, but we as a country and sub-region are not really focused on agriculture for our development, nation development. In World Agri report in 2022, they stated that Africa has a potential of around 790 million hectares available, and of land, agricultural lands available, and those that we have not exploited yet to even touch is about 105 million hectares. Now, this 105 million hectares is 4.4 times the size of Ghana, and is 1.1 times the size of the entire Nigeria. It shows how big the unexploited land is in Ghana, and the opportunities available in Africa in terms of agriculture. In Ghana alone, the total area of Ghana is 24 million hectares, and only 13.6 million hectares is used for agriculture. Your uncultivated land, which is still available in Ghana, is about 8 million hectares. That is 33.5% of the available land. Now, with this 8.8 million hectares is about 5 regions combined, which is Greater Accra, Ashanti region, Eastern region, and Upper East region combined to form. That will only give us the 8 million hectares of land. Assuming if we're using all this land available for production, the opportunities we can make or contribute to Ghana's agriculture. UN FAO has a goal which is towards achieving the UN development goals, and FAO's goal is to make sure we do better production, better nutrition from the production, and also better save the environment and have a happy life. Now, how do we achieve all these ones without destroying the environment? By producing the best. So I'm going to go through 9 secrets now. The first secret is farm planning. To start every farm, the farmer needs to have a plan which is going to work within the production period. Now, this is very important because it kickstarts all the farmer is going to do, whether the crop selection, how much it's going to cost, which crop, the market. It involves a whole lot. And if you get this plan wrong, everything can go wrong during the production. Now, the farmer is to consider all the existing resources available, the past history, what happened last year, what happened last 2 years, what was the market experience, what happened, what fertilizer applied. All these things supposed to be part of the plan. The supply needed, what do I need for production this year? Do I need fertilizers? How many fertilizers do I need? Do I need seeds? How many seeds? Are my machines okay? All these ones are supposed to be needed with the funds available in terms of financing. Do we need credit? Or if you don't need credit, how much money do you need to go through the entire production, depending on the size you are going? Do you need to buy machinery? All those things are supposed to be part of the plan. Now, a good plan should be flexible, efficient, it should be time-bound, and it should be timely acquisition. So mostly the timely acquisition is looking at, I'm still using Ghana as a case study, where last year fertilizers were selling at less than 100 cedis, went to around 150 cedis. If farmers were having enough good plan around that time for this year, they could start buying fertilizers as at last year to be used for this year, which would have been cheaper. This year, fertilizers is going around 400 cedis, which is much higher than what they even expected to have because of inflation and other factors. If farmers had already bought fertilizers and some implement before, would have been cheaper this year. So all these ones are supposed to be part of the plan. And also element of risk accounted for. So flood, all those are pest infestation, all these are supposed to be part of it. And in the end, the total goal of the plan is to make sure there is enough profit in the end. Number 2 is the yield potential in terms of the crop selection. Then you consider the yield potential. So if you're going to go through production this year, what kind of crop? Because there are a whole lot of crops on the market. When you talk to people, they will tell you this is profitable, and all that. But which one are you going for? Are you going for maize? Even maize, which variety are you going for? So then you have to look out for the yield potential of the crop. How much is it going to give you? What is the potential? It does gives you your expectation, knowing that, okay, if I have X amount of money and looking at the yield potential of the crop, I can even do it to get my return. We also look at the quality of planting material. So buy seeds from certified bodies. If your seeds are infested, you can't plant ill seeds, or maybe going for already used seeds, which might not give you the potential to which you are expecting. And also look out for the customer satisfaction. Now, so the customer will want certain kind of maize, maybe yellow maize, white maize, or certain grain. The seeds you are selecting or the crops you are selecting, are they going to be something the customer wants? The customer will be happy about, because in the end, they will determine whether you are successful or not. So if your seeds and your planting material do not satisfy what the customer wants, then you don't need to even start. You have to make sure you satisfy the customer. So this chart is to show some crops, especially in Ghana, and their potentials. And if you could look at it, the average values, I know, but you can't actually compare with average values with the potential. But then I just took this because I can't visit every farmer. Some farmers are doing so, or some are not doing so. But averagely, this is what some farmers are doing. And when you take sweet potato, you have a yield per hectare of 56 tons and an average value of 15, which means there's so much gap. So what can you do also to make sure you get to 56? Probably there are so many things you are supposed to consider in terms of your land or fertilizer application, all those things. We'll get there as I keep on explaining. So this is something, so when you know sweet potato can give 56, and even though right now people are doing 15, your target should be a minimum of 15, and your maximum target should be 56, making sure you're working towards the 56. But on the 15 should be your lowest, where you think, okay, if it doesn't go well, that is what I'm supposed to get. Also, you have to know your soil. What soil type are you working with? Most of the time, people just get the land. Okay, I have a land, it's good, and I think it will be suitable for this. But then probably the land might have other chemical challenges, physical properties might not be what the crop actually needs. So you actually have to know your soil. What is the clay content? What is the sand content in the soil? What is the pH of the soil? What is the organic content of the soil? You need to understand all these things before you really actually match a crop to a particular land, so that you can know, okay, this soil is going to be good for this land, so that I can meet my potential. Also, timing. In agriculture, timing is everything, because there's time for planting, there's time for harvesting. That's what the Bible says. But I also think everything we do is timing. When you miss the window, there's a reason why there's a planting season, because around that time, probably the weather and everything is comfortable for the plant to actually achieve its potential. You might be trying all year round and all that, but then you should be doing the time, because even the market, the pricing, all those things form part of the timing. And harvesting, which is very important. If you are doing something like a cereal, grains, and you just allow your crops on the farm, not knowing when to harvest and not planning your harvest, when the grains are actually dry, especially when you are doing soya and maybe over dries and there's a strong wind, you might lose your soya, or there's a rain, all of them go muddy, and you might lose your entire harvesting. So time in agriculture is very key. Time of planting, time to conduct every activity, time to even fertilize, time to apply insecticide. They are all very, very important in agriculture. It makes you minimize your cost. Let's look at the input side, where we have fertilizers being a direct determinant of yield. Fertilizers are important, and in our sub-region, we mostly have issues with nitrogen being low, because it's not a stable element in the soil. It's very mobile, so mostly their levels are very low, so you want to top up to what the plant actually needs to give you a certain yield parameter. But most farmers will actually go like, oh, okay, they don't, because their soils are not tested. Then maybe someone told them, okay, when you apply NPK 15, this bag of NPK, yeah, but you have to know what the plant needs. You need to know what the plant needs and what you are giving. I normally see people will say, okay, for maize, they will just be like, for maize, let me apply urea and this and that, and I'll be able to. But you need to know what is the plant requirement. What nutrient does the plant need at a particular point in time? So at the beginning, at the vegetative stage, mostly plants will need the nitrogen to boost the growth. At the fruiting stage or the tuber initiation, you might need more potassium and all that. But because we do not know the plant requirement, you tend to add fertilizers, and mostly we do not even add the recommended because fertilizers are expensive, so we just add as little we can and all that, and actually we do not get the yield we want. So if you want to actually get the yield we want, you have to know the plant nutrients requirement and the stage to which it needs a certain nutrient and the quantity, because it's very key in achieving the crop yield potential. When it comes to fertilizers, there are types of fertilizers, and we have the manure, the organic fertilizers, and the mineral fertilizers. I always want to, I know this is where there's always people get, there's a difference between pesticides and fertilizers. Fertilizers are directly affect the yield we have. So if I want to get more, or the plant is, they just go through the plant nutrition. That's what we give them. And we can decide to go with manure or decide to go with the mineral fertilizer. And note, I want to send this, that mineral fertilizers are not the way we term it, chemical. They are also coming from natural sources, because nitrogen is gotten from natural gas in the air. It's just extracted. So, and potassium is a salt similar to the salt we use at home. That is sodium chloride. That one is potassium sulfate. There are types of potassium. And we have the phosphorus coming from natural rocks on order. So we get all our source nutrients from natural sources. They are not manufactured or from somewhere. It's just the process. So when I hear people making, okay, mineral fertilizers are not good, I just don't find the case, because it's somehow it's dicey, because it depends on where you're coming from, because the world will not reach where we are. We can't feed almost 7 billion people in the world without fertilizers. We need to find a blend between the natural, that is the manure, and the mineral. Maybe mix them in proportion to get the best yield. But we can't condemn whether this is bad, this is good, because they are all helpful. They're all needed by the plants. So this is what Dr. Norman said, that the basic problem is to feed about 7 billion people in the world. And we can't do, the game will be over without fertilizers, because that's what we're going to use to replenish the land, to get to motivate the plants so that they can grow very well for us to get the yield we want. And one thing I also want to caution is the nutrients in the plant will not be there because the plant is feeding on it. So whilst they are feeding on it, they will go down. So we need to apply more fertilizer to get the yield we want, because this year probably is a new land, so we might have some nutrients in the soil. Next year, or because we did a production last year, the yield we got has actually taken some nutrients out of the land. We need to replenish it with new fertilizers. So that's why fertilizers are very important to actually help us get some elements or minerals in the soil so that we can boost our yield. The 6th point is scouting and monitoring. This is very, very important as a farmer. You can't be an absentee farmer without checking your farm, what is happening on your farm. It's like every day we wake up and our parents make sure we are well to do, we have clothes, they feed us. They even sometimes ask us questions whether we are okay or whatever. We need to be doing that on a farm. So we take the plants as our babies, check, visit, know what is wrong with the plant. Are there insects, pests, maybe some parts of the land has some other things going on which we are not certain about. Maybe the growth in some areas are very low. We need to go investigate. So scouting and monitoring is very important, because it's kind of managing the risks on the farm. And mostly for us complete farmers, we normally use EOS to help us in our scouting system, because the farm is large. Maybe you might not be able to visit the entire place. By using EOS, it helps you to actually see what is happening on the entire farm at a go. Whilst visiting the farm, even with EOS, you still have to visit the farm as well. So I was talking, now since you visited a farm, you have some pest and disease maybe on the plant. How do we control it? I know we were talking about crop rotation and all that, but we can't also do away with the agrochemicals, that is the herbicides and weed control, because whichever way we need to control them, and doing it manual is going to be will not be cost effective that way to go by the normal way, especially when you are doing very large acres of farms. You can't depend solely on manual and natural means. Sometimes you need to add some agrochemicals to control this pest and disease on our farm. And mind you, there's a note that these chemicals are poisonous. So this is where it actually affects the quality of the product, which we need to always check. These chemicals normally affect human even in the product. So most of these chemicals are just like the drugs we buy from pharmacies. They have withdrawal periods. You can take it at this time, you can't take it at this time, you can't, when you take this one, you can't eat. So it's just the same way. When you use the recommended dosage as stated by the manufacturer, is going to help. Most chemical has a withdrawal period of 14 days. So you can't spray a fruit or a tuber or a plant less than 14 days and bring it to the market and expect it to be certified for you to go to maybe those international bodies. But by the time it gets there, your chemical residues will still be high. So you need to check when to apply this so that you don't bring your product quality down. And also we need to also practice IPM. Now IPM is integrated pest management, where you adopt other approaches. So it could be using chemicals and still some natural means, other predator pests to control the ones that the bad ones and all that. So those are a system which you need to manage so that you don't overuse the chemicals in your in the farm. Secret number 8 is planting depth and plant population. So we don't need to overcrowd the farm because we need to get so much. And also you don't need to also plant less because probably you're trying to control competition. Competition in itself is very good for the plants. That is why there's a planting distance. Especially within the intra-row, when you are closing them, then you know that you need to increase the inter-row so that the plant can get some sunlight, enough air, and also to receive most of the things it needs, an environment to also grow. So when you plant them somehow in the recommended planting distance, it checks the competition so that they can all grow together, so they can get the same and uniform plant population and plant height, so that when you're harvesting, you can harvest around the same time. Secret number 9 is machines and systems. Recently, I know people are against the use of machines because of maybe environmental challenges and what they encounter, and maybe the type of soil they are using. But then we can also depend on labor. Whichever we go, we'll be using systems. We need to always consider a smart system which will be cost effective. If we are doing an acre or two and you're going to buy a tractor, won't make financial sense. Maybe you can go for the mini plan. This one might be good for small scale, so that you can actually be able to cut the time in land preparation or conducting some activity. These machines help us to also, you as a farmer can't even do the entire place alone, and neither can you use, looking at the time and financial constraints, you can also hire labor to do all these things. So normally you want to employ some machines to actually help you with some of these activities on the farm. These are other agronomic practices which I know we've already spoken about some of them in the earlier conversation, but I wanted to add that reading and researching as a farmer is very key in our operations. and we do not need to actually just go by, okay, this is profitable, but what is your experience? What is your skill? Can you do it? What is trending? What is the new technology in that? Because these technologies try to make farming or whatever we do more efficient. We've already talked about crop rotation. You can add mulching depending on how your land is. Maybe your topsoil is very shallow. You want to practice this, not to lose it. You can also add other crops whilst to control those erosions and all that on the farm. So to wrap up, I would say with this one, the farmer is always happy when there's harvest, but that's not the end. The most exciting part is when the product lands on the market, when they know you've already done the sales aspect of it, when there's money in the pocket. That is when you can actually say, okay, you've really gone through the entire farm, because when you harvest and it still sits in your warehouse or in your storage facility and it gets rotten, it won't be any nice experience. So the exciting part will be when you know, okay, someone has bought it or like has made the customer satisfaction and there's a deal, the deal is already sealed. Then you can be more happy and can term the farm as a successful one. So I'll end here, and if there are questions to respond to, with my co-host Luis will help me to answer all those questions.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was brilliant, but I just wanted to add. Hello. I think I was getting some feedback. Yes, I think you've done justice to the whole work, and I just wanted to add just a few things with respect to the fertilization, and then one thing I want people to also understand is that in trying to increase your yield in a cost-effective way, always start small. You know, agriculture is capital intensive, whether we like it or yes. You need a lot of money to actually make sure that it happens. So if you are cutting or taking more than you can chew, it's beautiful. Now people are talking about it, everybody wants to enter into agriculture. But if you really don't understand the whole system, you end up using a lot of money and not getting your hands so full up with the whole thing. So I will always advise anybody who wants advice from me in terms of agriculture or farming to start small. Ask yourself, I have this amount of money, how much can I do? Because if you look at your statistics in terms of your money in your pockets and then you can't actually meet your target, then it wouldn't be the best way to go. So always start small and then know how you are adding up, because it comes with experience. Now, every phase of life, people are trying to enter into agriculture, bankers, marketers, every aspect. So you just don't enter, but you need to do that. And sometimes by doing that, you need qualified people to actually give you the advice. And that's where sometimes a group like Complete Pharma is there to help you do that. So you are able to get that connection, because agric is biology, I always say, and it changes over time. So if you don't have the systems running for you, you will end up losing a lot of money and then not getting anything at the end of the day. So I want listeners and viewers to understand that always have your plan. He started by saying that you need to plan, and it's very essential. And frankly, the Excel always looks beautiful. It looks perfect. Everything is going to go according to plan. But sometimes on the field of play, things change and you may find yourself wanted. So always plan, you go in, and then you'll be able to know how to handle some of the things. You also talked about scouting. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to even scout as and when the plant is on, but you even have to scout before. Because in scouting before, you get to know the sort of pests or the sort of diseases that are available around there, so that you'll be able to know how to combat them. Because one of the challenges that we realized with a bit of experience is that farmers are abusing some of the chemicals because of the pests that are in the community. So it gets to a point that you see that predominantly most people are doing this particular crop there. You may not necessarily have to do the same thing there, because now the population of the pests and insects are now huge because they find food there, and everywhere you go and you get food, you always want to go there. So in trying to do that, you can have to scout before and then know that should I enter or should I retreat? Should I do another crop different from all that other people are doing? So you can scout before so that you know how to. Other practices could also be, it is a bit of the mixed cropping and then intercropping thing that we're talking about in the earlier one. You know, some plants exude some, they have this combating or let's say adaptive skills like called allelopathy. So they will try as much as possible to destroy certain things around them. So certain weeds could be controlled by mixing certain crops together, or maybe mixing carrots with ginger, with garlic and onions are known to that it wards away some pests. Again, you have to know what you have to use. So something like you talked about organic manure. It is a topic that probably you have to take later probably in some of the questions and others, but we have to understand that it is not in itself something that you can entirely rely on unless you know your soil very well, which is something he mentioned early on, because there are some portions of the soil or some part of the nutrient that are not available because of certain things that are also in the soil. So you take micronutrients like maybe aluminum and maybe iron. So if you test your soil, you have a lot of aluminum and iron in it, then remember that P is going to suffer, as phosphorus, you're going to have a lot of trouble with that because they are going to bind it, so they can't actually release. So you need to know your pH, really know the type of crop. So soil testing, as he said, is very important, but you also have to do a lot of analysis with research and everything. So I think that's a little I can add to all that Kwashie has said, and with any question we will address in the question or Q&A box so that we'll see. So let's see the first question that we have here. And he says that okay.
Hello guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Paddy. It's been very insightful. So we'd like to read questions from our I'd like to read questions from our Q&A session. One attendee is asking, how will Complete Pharma help me as a farmer to increase my yield? Yeah. So I think either Kwashie or Luis can take this. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a question from one attendee, and the question is, how will Complete Pharma help me as a farmer to increase my yield? Yeah, so Kwashie or Luis, you can take this.
So I think basically Kwashie has dealt with much of the things that we're talking about, but Complete Pharma will help you with respect to protocols that we have actually developed. We worked on them to see how effective they can be. So with Complete Pharma, you have a journey. As I said, in agric, it's more technical than sometimes we see it or it appears. Sometimes you hear in Ghana is fertile. You just throw maize somewhere and then it sprouts and it's good. Trust me, this is the truth. You plant 2 maize in your house or 2 seeds of maize in your house, it will do perfectly well. Try replicating it on a bigger field and you will regret it. I have met real agriculturists, people who have knowledge in agriculture who've come crying. I have had experience myself, know that you always do everything and it works. Complete Pharma, we've had our failures as well. So it's not like you have everything cut in stone that, okay, when you do ABCD, it's going to work. As I said in the earlier presentation, it's biology, and biology can change at any time. So you need somebody or some professionals who would always journey with you. And that is one of the key things that Complete Pharma is always going to give you. So at any point in time, you get to get somebody to actually talk to. You get to get somebody to visit your farm. And you know, there are things that you may not see ordinarily because you don't have the experience of it, but by the experience levels of the team of Complete Pharma, you're able to check things so we become more proactive than reactive. So that is one thing that we need to know, that in Complete Pharma, we give you protocols that will work, we'll work journey with you, and then we'll make sure that you are having the best yield at the end of the day. So that question came, that's what I can say about that. Unless Kwashie has anything to say.
Yes, so what I want to add is Complete Pharma also does this progressive research. So this year, the research we did doesn't end. That is what probably the farmers, the research we did last year, that is what the farmers will be implementing, let's say, this year on their farms. Now, at the same time, we're still running a research for next year. So it's kind of like a progressive. Every day we are in with you, with the farmer. We visit the farm, we give you production guide, protocols for you to follow to make sure you meet a certain standard or specification of your product.
The woman who welcomed us, as the owner.
So it's normally a progressive step, and that's the help you can give you to make sure you actually achieve your goal at the end of the farming stage.
He has to come.
Okay, thank you very much, Kwashie. I think I'll take a question from Richard. So Richard is asking, what are some of the adverse effects of using fertilizers? Are there any adverse effects to using fertilizers? Maybe Luis, you can help with this, or Kwashie.
Yeah, so fertilizers. Hello. As Kwashie tried explaining earlier on, fertilizers in themselves are not the issue, but it's the application. You know, one thing that we have to understand is that even when we use mineral fertilizers, with respect to the mineral and the organic takes time to actually decompose. The plants get it available as and when. But even with the mineral, they don't actually leave the soil as, immediately after the season. Because there is this structure and system in our way of farming whereby you always see farmers adding fertilizer every year and year. But we're supposed to actually check the amount of fertilizers we put in there, how much has been depleted, how much we need to add. That is the way to go, because what happens is that if you don't, you get to a level that you make your soil basically acidic. Okay, and when that happens, your soil, which has a pH, can change, or it can be made basic, however it is. But the pH of the soil that you used early on, it's not going to happen. And when it happens, you know that it will have effects on how your plants are able to absorb. So fertilizers in itself wouldn't have that detrimental effect on the plant, but per our way of usage, we will always have negative effects somehow, because we don't check again how much the plant used, how much we need to do. And even that alone is in itself a way that we can actually curb unnecessary spending, because when you know that my plants need maybe 10 phosphorus or 10 grams of phosphorus and already I have 8 in the soil, you don't go and buy huge sums of fertilizers, but you buy something close to 2, which at the end of the day will make your cost of production go lower than it's supposed to be. So in itself, I would say they don't have it, because it's like the nutrient the plants need, and it will always take it as and when it's available to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll let the people who have raised their hands to ask their questions, and then we'll take it out from there. As we wait for that, I will read another question. Hello. From okay.
Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
That is Francis.
Okay, Francis.
This is Francis from Eastern Region. Hello.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
We can hear you.
Hello, Francis.
Hello.
Yeah, please, you can ask your question.
Okay. My name is Francis from the Eastern Region for that. Okay, I said my question is funding for a large-scale tree plantation. Hello.
As we try to. Okay. Francis, I think your network is very bad, and as we wait for Francis to get a better network, just stay tuned to the end to
my question is
amazing prizes from us.
Hello.
Hello, Francis. I think your network is good, but you can type your question in the Q&A session, and we'll read it out loud for you. Okay. So I'll take other questions from. There's a question from. Kaga said, "Is it possible to do intercropping in all forms of farming?" I don't know, Luis and Kwashie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so one of our attendees is asking, is it possible to do intercropping in all forms of farming? Kwashie?
Yeah, so it's possible in all forms of farming, but then you need to know which kind of crops you want to intercrop. Are you going to do let's say maize, soybean, fine. But some crops you can't actually intercrop them because probably of competition, and maybe probably might not even notice the competition at the early stage, but maybe in the later stage. I saw someone in the comment section asking whether you can intercrop cashew with coconut. In the early stages, someone will say yes, but when it gets to the late stages, now the coconut rather casting a lot of shade on the cashew, which also needs the light to actually produce something. Now there's no light for the cashew. So before you do intercropping, you need to know what are the plant behavior for both crops. Whether you're doing maize and soybean, you need to know, okay, would the maize have effect on the soybean, or would the soybean have a negative effect on the soybean? If you are doing, let's say, sweet potato and cassava, they are all tuber crops. They all take so much from the land, and you need to consider all those things. So you need to actually understand and know the crops, the two crops you want to actually intercrop. But intercropping is possible. It's possible anytime.
Okay, Kwashie, thank you. Thank you very much. One other attendee is asking, please, how does Complete Pharma help secure funding and the process? Yeah, Luis or Kwashie, you can answer, please.
So on that, I think it's a very important question because in agriculture, you definitely will need funding. So Complete Pharma, in this webinar, we've had a very special package for tomorrow. So I think the person should look into that, and I'm sure he's going to get all the answers that he needs for that particular question. That's in respect to funding in agriculture, what you need to do, what you need to prepare in order to meet it. So I think that section, he shouldn't miss it, and he's going to get the best out of it.
Okay, thank you. I'll take our last question and then we can wrap up. Said which crops are in high demand now? I think that's a very interesting question. He said, which crops are in high demand now? Yeah.
So as Louise rightly said, almost every crop is in high demand. It depends on your market, where you are looking at. If you are looking within the country, almost every staple is in demand. Some vegetables, most of them are also in demand. And also, you also have to look at the timing as well. So if you are looking at, let's say, during the peak times, it will get to a time, it will not be in demand, but to get to another time, some crop will be in demand. So it depends on the crop, your market, where you are looking at, whether you're looking at export or local market. All of them will determine whether the crop is in demand. So you can't actually use one single variable to determine whether a crop is in demand or not. And that is part of the market research as a farmer you need to do to be able to actually know whether whatever you're going to do is going to be profitable in the end.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kwashie, for that. So our last question says that, as a new farmer, how would you help me in agriculture? Now, for that, I know that our new ground model enables people who do not know anything about farming to also start their farming journey. So Louise and Kwashie, which kind of support will the agronomy team provide to new farmers who don't know anything about farming?
So if you don't know anything about farming, we ask you not to farm. That's funny. But I mean, we just have to journey with you, as I said in the early presentation. We will have to know what you want, because one thing about farming that people always also miss is that it's passion. It's the passion that will keep you going when all things go sour. So you need to know the type of crop that you have a passion for. Somebody just have a passion for lettuce because he just loves to have lettuce on his food. So even though nobody buys it, he knows he can eat it. So you have to know the type of crop that you want to. So we know that, okay, this person needs this type of crop, or he wants this type of crop. Then we advise, okay, looking at the market, lettuce is not going to be good. So we are going to journey with you to know that, okay, we can give you an alternative to whatever it is that you want to. Then we'll give you all the understanding when it comes to agriculture, what your expectations should be, and then what your pros and cons are all supposed to be. So we will journey with you when you come to Complete Pharma to see how we can start a relationship together, because it's going to be a long-lasting one. Trust me, you will enjoy it.
Great. Thank you very much, Louise, for that as well. We have so many questions here. One question just caught my eye, which says, please, in terms of market, how does CF help me to market both locally and internationally? Now, Daniel, thank you very much for that question, because our next session is going to be an answer to it. Our next session is going to focus on how to grow food for the export market. So to wrap up this session, Louise and Kwashie, do you have any last words for farmers who want to join Complete Pharma and how they should take their first step? Do you have any last words for them?
Well, my last question for them is just come to Abiasi Street, East Legon. Just hook us up, go to our website. Okay. Just hook us up, and then we are ready and available to help you along the way. So that's all I'll say, and you get more.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kwashie. Thank you, Louise. I know that farmers on here have learned so much about how they can increase their yield on their farm in a cost-effective way. One thing that was very important that you mentioned was having a plan, budgeting, and focusing on timing as well, and making sure you focus on the kind of crop you want to grow. It's important that you research and learn. And if researching is too much for you, our agronomy team is here. Louise and Kwashie are always there for you to research, to give you the right insight you need to know the kind of crop you should grow, its demand on the market, and what goes into growing it. So to usher us into the next session, I'll be hosting it with our co-host, which is Antonia. She'll be joining us soon, the sales manager of Complete Pharma. If you're a farmer and you want to join our grower model, please visit our website, www.completepharma.com, or visit our website, www.completepharma.com. The information has been dropped in the chat box, so you can click on it and get more information about our grower model, or you can call us on 050-1318-474, 050-1318-474. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Kwashie. Our next session is definitely the icing on the cake. It's my favorite section because we are going to talk about something that most African farmers struggle with. How do I go to meet export market demand? How do I do the right things? What needs to be done? If you're a farmer here and you want to expand your agribusiness, you have to stay to the very end. And please know that we'll host a raffle draw at the end of today's event. So all our attendees stand a chance of winning gifts from our partners, Desegov Ghana and EOS. Desegov has a discount package for farmers here who sign up to our grower model. So the beautiful thing is, when you sign up to our grower model today, you stand a chance of enjoying this special discounts from Desegov Ghana. Yes, thank you. And we'll wait briefly for Antonia to join us to co-host. Yeah. Please send in your questions and any concerns that you have with me.